got slippers on, so let's see if this works. One step here. Trying to be careful not to cantilever here, and trying to keep the sole of the foot level with the ground instead of coming out like a side kick might. The idea here isn't to go as high as I can go, although that's nice. A big circle is certainly harder to do. If you have to square it out, that's fine. And then just as I don't want to cantilever here or use an external support, which is certainly reasonable, if that's what you're planning to do, I also don't want to try and find or recover or develop my balance with my hands. So a lot of times you'll find people kind of making these shapes as if they're holding on to a railing or a counter or a pole. And so I want to try and have my hands relaxed. I'll often practice this actually in a shape so that they definitely have a job that isn't this. Good, so. And of course we could reverse this the other direction. We could have been going that way. But I'm going to just start one. See if we can just maybe do a minute's worth or so. So of course I'm also keeping my foot forward. I'm not turning it. I'm not straining my foundation knee. And certainly if you need to touch down, or if you did need an external support that's closer to you than this, that's okay. What I'm trying to do is go through the exercise, but also maintain my principles of self-directed, consciously created structure, alignment, balance, and then flood that with a consciousness that's gentle, patient, soft, relaxing. And of course, if we do this slower, it's that much harder. Like I like to practice this with my hands in a position and actually give this a full breath cycle to complete the circle, or a full breath, full inhale, and then full exhale. And of course, that's a Tai Chi breathing plan there. So it's, notice I'm just hanging my leg there when I stopped for a moment. But that's a Tai Chi breath, right? So nice and slow, deep and easy. So I'm going to come up, and I'm going to give my hands another position here. I'm going to come up, turn the hip without turning the navel, and then here, up, turn the hip. And I want to feel the Kwa, I want to feel the Yao, I want to feel the Wei Lu. The sound may be different today. I have the heater on in here because I have a student coming in 15 or 20 minutes on the schedule here at hour. This is a lot harder to do when I'm talking and looking at the camera. So up, open, back, down, up, open, back, down, and then of course slow, soft, relaxed here. So I have this stretch that I want to be able to feel all the way through the kidney area, as opposed to just turning my trunk with that femur. So the trochanter moves in the hip socket. And we get the psoas involved. I like to do embryonic breathing when I'm doing these leg exercises. But just nice natural breathing would be fine. And then I'm going to vary it. I'm going to turn the belly button first, turn the trunk first without the foundation femur going in. It's pointing towards camera now. But turn the trunk, which for me is about maybe 45, and then open the leg. Then close the leg, then turn the trunk back. Up, turn, open, return, and turn back to square. 1, 2, so my body as a unit is turned, but for my foundation leg, and then I'm opening and closing and return and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I'm not competing with anybody or myself or my ideas of perfection, so I'm not trying to turn as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to let it be a workout. I'm not afraid of some effort here, but I'm not interested in strain or pain. I'm interested in Gong Fu. I'm interested in wise efforts, unconstrained by the time-sensitive brain and its pleadings. So turned, I have my belly button pointing where my femur is pointing here. That kind of threw me off trying to do that. And then open, and then return, and then back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go back to that initial one and change the direction to come across. I'm going to hold this position. Endeavoring to keep the sole of the foot pointing towards the earth levelly throughout. Endeavoring to keep my posture as best I can. Endeavoring to stay relaxed in emotional state, psychological state, physical state, but for where the physical demands are required, not simply invited. And then, of course, in the mind overall. So giving your hand something to do here is a little bit easier than not. If we just leave them down, people are going to tend to tighten their fingers, curl their fingers, flex their wrists, shape their arms, or some combination. So this is actually easier to come in and give them Neigong kind of, or Yì Quán position, whatever you have. I'm guessing that was about a minute, so I'm going to switch to the other side. This can be done smaller and lower, just as the previous ones. Slower is preferred, but smaller and bigger doesn't make a major difference in terms of your balance, in terms of the work here on this side, the structural foundation side, but it certainly can increase the synovial fluid and lymphatic fluids movement, and the rate of flow, and certainly the range of motion is worked or challenged as we do bigger circles. So I'm just checking through with my system here, right? Am I unnecessarily tightening? Am I leaning? Probably I am a bit, right? And oftentimes people have bigger eyes than they have appetites, so they want to go big, and everything else suffers for that, trying to go big. So we want to do it well, and once you are able to do it well, even if you need to sit down or use the external, once you're able to do it well, so slow, confident, aligned, nice structure, and then the quality of the being inhabiting that structure has those Tai Chi Chuan qualities: relaxed, soft, quiet, settled, and so forth. Then you can certainly go for bigger, that's fine. So I don't want to just start to stop and pontificate, but the idea here is to keep us moving. So hand on the lower dantian, raising the radial side, the ulnar side of the arm first, turning the body, shifting away, and sort of cutting down, chopping down, and then shifting to the center or to the far side, and then shifting back as I raise to the rear leg here. So back to center or the rear leg here. I prefer the rear leg, I prefer the full shift here. And where I'm going here is with this arm, it's in front of the line between my toes here in this little Wuchi stance. So that plane, which I guess I can sort of reference here. So that plane, I guess I'll just put the cane on the plane as well if that helps you. So I'm on that plane, so this arm is in front of me, but as I shift and my hips open, this is coming down to the malleolus or the kneecap or the shoelace tie, sort of stomach 41, that kind of line, or maybe kidney 3 or something. So this is a little bit behind the plane, the stick, the Joe that I have here, and this is on the plane. So there's this slight sweep to my rear, just very, very slight. And then we'll get into a little standing practice here in a moment. So I get this lung 1 and 2 really closed, and then relatively open here. We get the heart 1 relatively closed, and then relatively, or rather open, I should say. I want to feel this rotation of the arm starting from the shoulder joint rather than the fingers. The mind is going to very likely ask you to rotate your hands and have the forearm and elbow follow, and have the upper arm and shoulder follow that. But in fact, what we'd like to do is rotate at the joint here. I'm going to go backwards here, as I just realized you may not be able to see my hand, but I'm just completing that arc. Yeah, I guess you can see it there. Here. So each time I'm aware of my foundation knee, so my knee bears the weight and it doesn't move, and the hips turn, and then the weight shifts to a new knee that now doesn't move, and my torso rotates above that without carrying its motion into the knee, where the knee will feel its torque. Of course, this can be done both sides, but I want to do a little standing practice too. So let's try this for Sifu stamp. So whatever height you get is fine. I'm just lifting the knee, letting the leg hang. The elbow is similarly lifted, but kind of in front of the body, but I'm not tightening my chest here, so I'm kind of lateral to the stomach line. Relaxing the shoulders. Obviously good alignment here. This knee is going to have to stay in place, even though there's a lot of work that the leg is doing to try and account for it, especially with me moving my eyes around to check the camera and so forth. And see Saki. A cat just walked by my own Sifu. I think I got 1 minute before my toe touched down. I'm going to say that that's about a minute in addition to the first minute, so I'm going to try the other side, and we'll give this a go for 2 minutes. And of course, if you have this posture differently in your style, and your positions are different, you can do the way you do it. Some people hold their foot and ankle different, and certainly this hand gets held a number of different ways in different styles. I'm just doing mine. So it's something to pay attention to, is like one hip come higher than the other. If this hip is lower than this, then it really indicates that this hip is not quite strong enough to hold up both sides of the trunk, and so it's kind of losing the fight. So it's something interesting to pay attention to, especially if you have a mirror and you can look at your belt and kind of see that line. Perhaps you can just sense it proprioceptively. That would be great too. Let the tailbone sink. Shoulders melt, elbows sinking, wrists buoyant relatively, head suspended, breathing in through the nose. I just lost it there, I had a touch. The more advanced version is do this with your eyes closed. I'm going to guess that that's about 2 minutes. Perhaps you did it better than I did. So, thank you for that little shared practice session. And we will see you soon.